right. Hey, Lex.
Hey, man.
Hey, how's it going?
I'm doing good.
You ready to do this?
Yes, definitely. Hi, guys.
Inventory 13 finally out as of last night. Fine.
Very recently.
Yeah.
Like Pete Rose sliding into home base head first.
We did it.
Rose. He's never gonna be in the Hall of Fame.
You don't think so?
No. He'll sign your autograph if you go to Caesars in the shops at Caesars. And he'll charge you for it. I was smoking at the Fuente cigar lounge there. They're grandfathered in, so you could actually smoke cigars there in the, in Caesar's Palace in the shops. And it's right across from where he was signing autographs. And we made eye contact a couple times. And I feel so bad for that dude. He was didn't see one person go there, and I had like a 2-hour burn. So not one person talked to him.
Aw. He'll walk into the Hall of Fame and just tape his autograph on the wall.
He's taking bets on whether he'll actually get in. All right, let's go ahead and jump into PDQ Inventory 13. So
Central Server.
Now, you're right now you're probably looking at this going, hey, dude, that's 12. Yeah, we're actually going to show you the upgrade here. I have to call out one thing, though. If you were kind enough to use the beta, thank you very much. You notice down here, let's go ahead and scroll down there, JJ, right here, the new version is available. If you're running the beta version and you click that, you'll be able to download it, but it won't actually kick off the install.
Actually, download it and then run the install by hand. Don't let it kick off.
Yeah. Is that what it is?
That's what it is.
Okay.
So
I know Brig found that issue or something like that, or
Yeah.
Colby. Okay. Anyway, that's if you're running the beta. If you're doing it this way, you can just always click in there and download and install now.
Now, there is a warning in there for the beta users if you happen to be able to read like Shane.
They can read the words like Shane.
Read words like Shane. They should be able to read the warning in there, right?
Words like Shane or
Words
Chris
like Shane
or
and Chris.
deploy.
Single syllables.
Oh, yeah, that's right. It is Whip on Alex Day, isn't it?
Yeah.
You don't have to say that. There's one day a year where we don't. It usually falls on a Sunday when no one's here.
It's my birthday when I don't come.
No, that birthday especially.
Yeah.
So all we're doing is just saying let's upgrade. It's very simple. Obviously, we're going to upgrade, but there's just like with the inventory or deploy 13, there's a new look and feel. Mm-hmm. There we go. And coming up now, we recommend if you have multiple consoles. If you have right now, if you're running inventory
Shane's
12,
got one. I've got one.
Mm-hmm. And you want to go to the central server feature. Remember, this is a feature. It's optional. You don't have to do it. But if you want to do that, recommend that you take whatever computer constitutes, the most complete, or the main one.
Yeah, your main data. So obviously, if it was Shane's data, we would upgrade Shane's to the server and then point mine at his. So
because in that, if Lex and I both had our own consoles and we decided let's go to central server, we upgrade mine. All my collections, all my data is there. Lex connects to my console as a client, and then he's not going to have his old database. Yeah. He'll just use mine. So just keep that in mind. Now, obviously, if you had collections or reports, you could export and import.
Yeah.
But the data that you've got, that's not as easy to import. Just really an inventory rescan. That can be a problem for some of your computers that might be offline or someone's house. You have workers that take their computers home.
Yep.
Just keep that in mind. All right, so we've got
a couple of things to note. Okay, options right up top. Choose that. Preferences are under there, guys.
Hey, Lex.
Yeah.
Where do I go to find out what changed?
Oh, help.
Go to help and contents.
I need an adult.
Whoa, slow down there, egghead. All right, so you got update notes. There's, obviously, you can scroll all the way down and find out just look at the changelog for every single version we've ever done. But here you go, right here. Obviously, the biggest thing is the central server feature. But like Lex called out a few things, just like in the new Deploy 13 inventory, preferences has been moved from file to the options menu. There's your preferences. And then things inside of there, like variables, credentials, those have been moved outside of preferences. So, I still have the muscle memory of going, I want to go to credentials. Oh, wait, it's in options credentials. And you can, it's still a shortcut there. We'll keep that there for a little bit. And license has moved to the help menu. Yep, there you go. All right, so let's dive right in. So we've got Guinness, and we're going to make Guinness a central server. In Deploy, Did you reinstall deploy here? Is deploy essential?
No, I don't think it's.
We'll make both of them essential. But first of all, hey, Kelford, do we have?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Do we have any questions?
We do.
About that would segue
upgrade
into
part of
this.
Yeah.
If not, I will proceed.
We can try this one.
All right, let's go ahead. Turn it down.
All right, dear Shane and Lex, I have a lot of data in my local inventory from systems which are on the road. I switched to Central Server, which is awesome and working great, but lost that data. Is there a way to manually import data from my local installation to Central Server? Thanks for everything you do. Sincerely, Timo S.
Hey, Timo.
There are a couple issues, right? I mean, obviously, databases and matching primary keys are going to be the underlying issue, basically.
Really, Timo, if you can, what you were probably doing is you were probably doing this correctly, and that was you were probably running the beta on another machine and not touching your existing console. What I'd recommend if that's what happened. When you have the confidence in 13 is just upgrade your old console so that you do have that data. But like we had mentioned before, if you're talking about other consoles, so you've already upgraded one, but you need data from another one, okay, technically, yes, you can. There are some SQL imports, some SQL commands that you could run. They're fairly complex, but the big issue is trying to match the correct computer ID.
Yeah.
That is part of the primary key. It's a sequential ID where that ID for computer X is not going to be the same ID for the same computer in another console. Yeah. So really,
matching that data.
I know you've got those computers at home. If you've already upgraded, just the easiest thing is to wait for those to come back online, unfortunately. If this is really a huge issue, we might be able to kind of lead you down the right direction offline. All right, so we've got this, we've upgraded. Now, there's kind of three modes in Central Server. There's your local mode. That is what you've always run this as. Local is inventory and deploy on the same machine, can talk to each other, but it's kind of an island. Another console, we have some sharing features which are going to go away. Those are just kind of band-aids until we got a Central Server situation. But other consoles maintain their own database, and ne'er the twain shall meet. Now you're going to be able to have all these consoles connected to the one. Yeah. That, however, requires the Central Server feature, not the local option. So when you come over here to Options and go to Central Server, if you're running in local mode, which is the default, you can select server mode or client mode. We're going to show you each of these. We're going to make this server mode, right? All right. We're just going to listen on all IP addresses. We're going to accept the default port, but if you have any conflicts, obviously you can change your port. And it's very important. This is the background service. You need to specify the password for the background service.
That's going to come into play on a lot of things. That background service obviously runs your scans and that. It's also, if somebody tries from a client machine to authenticate and they're not already in your credentials list or your console users, they're going to need that password. Yep,
that's correct. So what we're going to do, what we recommend, if you know who your console users are, you're the main administrator, for example, of your PDQ environment, you can enter those console users preemptively right now. And that way when that console user on another machine makes a client mode connection to your server, they don't have to enter the background service password.
Yep.
To do that, you just simply go to Options, Console users. All right, so Quintana, that's who we're logged in as, that's who the background services run. But we're gonna go ahead and say we're gonna add Al Swearingen.
Now, something to point out here, the password it's asking for is not Al Swearingen's password, it is Quintana's.
That's right.
Which is
saying, hey, we just need you to enter this in.
And again, that's basically saying it's okay for Al Swearingen to use Quintana's credentials to actually do scans and deploy.
If you don't do this, when Al Swearingen logs in and tries to connect to via client mode to your central server, it's simply going to be given a prompt. What is the background service password? Yep. Doesn't know it, then he's not going to be able to connect.
No bueno.
All right. So once again, add your console users there, or if everybody knows your background service password, A, shame on you, and B, you don't have a problem.
I'm going with shame on you on that one. That's
Fine.
That's just bad.
That's fine. All right, now let's go to a remote desktop machine. We'll do Heineken. I know it's a little bit, I'll minimize this. So Heineken is currently running in local mode. Got 13.
Something else to point out while we're in local mode, we have a local collection here that exists only on Heineken. It doesn't exist on the central server.
We actually call it local collection, and we're obviously doing that to call out that I'm going to go over here and make this. I'm going to go to central server. No, I'm not going to run in server mode. I'm going to run in client mode. And the server is Guinness. Probably want to use the fully qualified name, but in this case, the short name is fine. Say OK. And you did log on as Swearingen, right?
I did.
All right.
I hope I did. Yeah, I did.
So once again, that database that he was using it still exists, but it's just not being used. It's now very
Inventory is
static.
looking at the database on Guinness.
You can see right up there. Can you zoom out just a tad there, JJ? Yeah. Is it Windows?
Yeah.
Is it Windows?
Yeah, Windows key. Yeah.
Yeah, sure, I can do that. So there's the. There we go. So you can see we are connected to Guinness. There we go.
Central server. The other thing to point out,
And notice there's no local
collection, yeah.
It's gone. But let's go ahead and just grab a handful of these computers. Once again, I'm looking literally at. There we go. I'm just going to go ahead and select those and hit F6 to scan. And let's open up our inventory here on Guinness, and you can see those same computers are currently
scanning.
So now you're looking at all of the data. So hopefully you're not going to be, you'll be able to see, oh, I don't need to scan these computers. They are in fact being scanned right now. Somebody else.
There you go.
There you go.
How about a question, JJ?
Sure.
Got a great question from Monica. Dear Shane and Lex, how does enabling central server affect the versions of clients? Will clients need to be updated to the same version as the server with each release? Sincerely, Monica K.
Yes. Yes. So a new version.
Yes. All right, go ahead.
So a new version of inventory comes out, 13.2, a point release.
Yep.
You upgrade your server. A client tries to connect. You're going to get a notice that, hey, you need to upgrade.
Yeah. They got a match.
It really is important just to make sure that, yes, it's important. So we've put that in there. You're going to have to keep that. You're going to have to keep those up to date.
So I got a question for you, Shane. So you know how we use deploy and inventory together, right? So if I have central server deploy and I got central server inventory, do my clients also need to have the client version of inventory in it for them to be able to use
Why don't
deploy?
you go ahead and answer the question?
Yes, you do. All right.
Thank you.
You do, guys. It was kind of the discussion we had yesterday, and I'm like, oh, yeah, I guess that does work. So yeah, make sure if you want to use inventory with your deploy on your clients also have to have the client version of inventory.
Yes, absolutely.
Answer my own question. Thanks,
Go
Shane.
ahead. I want to call out that now that in Heineken, when Heineken is connected to the central server for inventory, even if Heineken maintains a deploy, a local deploy, the references when you say I want to deploy to a target, or from your target you say I want to initiate a deployment, it's going to be coming from the central server, not your local. All right, so just that's important to keep in mind. If I'm speaking out of church, Chris, by all means, let us know. This is hotter than hell in here. Am I the only
Same
one?
same with the studio.
Is it? It's
Or the control room.
It's the yeah.
I'm gonna start sweating. Welcome to the workout with Lex and Shane.
The sweat lodge.
Looks like we're all lying up here because we're just nervous.
Nervous, yeah.
All right. Do we have any? If not, I'm going to just jump into a few other changes. If we don't have another question.
We can take this one.
Dear Shane and Lex, in our environment, when we re-image stations, we do not delete them out of Active Directory. We use the same name and join to domain. Can inventory check the OS install date and automatically delete the history of previous deployments? We don't want to run reports and have them say a deployment was successful when in fact it has been wiped out due to the re-image. Love your show, Kathleen F.
Hey, Kathleen. All right, so what you're talking about, it's going to be somewhat hard to show this here because we have kind of a newer environment.
Prepped it, yeah.
What you're talking about is, if I understand, and thank you for sending that question in advance because We talked about it yesterday. I said, "Oh, I'll get on that," and then I promptly forgot to do it. So when I came in this morning, I'm like, "Oh, I got to build that query for you." Yes, there's ways you can do it. It's not a native feature, but you can do it with some SQL magic.
Yeah.
All right. What I guess let me just rephrase your state. Let's say you've got this computer CTR7, and then you re-image CTR7, keeps the same name, comes back into inventory, and your deploy environments, but comes back into inventory. But when you open up the deployments in the computer window, you go to the deployments page, you'll see all the old deployments for the previous
Machine with the same
previous
name.
CTR7, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's because we're going by the computer name. Now you might say, why are you going by the computer name? Why aren't you going by the Active Directory GUID? That's because we would love that, but we don't require that Active Directory.
Yeah, you can do work groups.
If we required Active Directory, then we absolutely would use the GUID as the primary key. But
Yeah.
here we're limited to host name. So you're going to have all these old
Deployments.
and you're saying, I want to delete the ones that are not respective to this. I like how you mentioned the OS install date, because if you notice I'm going to once again go to CTR7 as an example. Under the operating system, you'll see installed. That is the date the OS was installed. So basically, you can run a script, and I threw that out here. It's in you put that in the bonus stuff, right, Kelford? All right.
Yep, we did.
To list old deployments, let me just edit this real quick. It's just a SQL command. You want to zoom in there, buddy? There we go. This is just going to list them. Select, basically select the computer name and the OS install date and the deployment install date or end time, and show me all the computers where the end time happened before the OS install date. These are the ones that you want to delete. So you could run that. You could run that one.
Yeah.
You could run that. And then there's the delete. Yeah, run that before the delete. Just make sure that you're not going to be
Nuking everything.
And the delete is very simple. It's just saying delete from PDQ deployments. That's the table. Delete from PDQ deployments where the computer ID is in, and then we just have another sub-select.
Are you running this against inventory, or are you running it against
This is an
deploy?
inventory. That's a very good point. This is an inventory. And this is not to be confused if you're using schedules with the target schedule history.
Yeah.
It's not to be confused. This is just deployments. So running this command would say, go through my PDQ deployments table and delete any row where the
Computer ID is this.
where the OS was installed after any deployments end time.
Okay.
Because that's what we call a tell that in PDQ. That is an older one, and it might not be a bad idea to throw that in something native, depending on how many people are running into this. We might want to have a native feature. What do you think, Chris?
If people want to use it, why not? It shouldn't be too difficult, I don't think.
All right. So if you're wondering how do I run that script, you can copy these out to like your program data directory, PDQ inventory, and you can always.
Could you turn that?
Let's put Lex on the spot. Lex, if I want to open the SQLite console, how would I do that?
You go to help. No, you go to options and preferences.
Go to
guys.
help.
Hey, you already bit me on help today.
Go to help.
Go to help. There was a P on the end of that.
You can go to help.
I know. He said help. All right, yeah, and then you.
Under database. There's your console. Hey, Chris, could you actually turn that into a tool?
Always.
Absolutely.
A PowerShell tool, and I can do it on the spot. Oh my goodness,
Absolutely.
it's so easy.
Chris is over there. He's like, call me.
PowerShell.
If you want to run this script, either basically from your SQLite, you're going to do .read, and then the path to that SQL file.
Yeah.
So if you put it in the same directory, it'd be like, del dep or whatever it was called .sql, and that would run that.
Yeah.
So just do a .read.
So speaking of tools, is there any? Obviously, tools run locally.
Oh, that's a great segue. Hey, Chris, would you like to come over here and step in?
Yeah.
All right, let's do that because I'm going to let Chris come in here now. We've got.
I'm going to go over.
Oh, do you want to do it?
I was going to have.
Okay, I was gonna have you stick around. Okay, you spoke up. Let's go ahead. So what we want to call out is that your tools. How do we handle tools? Because the tools are unlike at this point remote command, right? Remote command. Before I turn it over to you, remote command. This is still available. If I want to run a remote command against CTR7, I can go over to Tools, do a remote command. And what we're going to do is actually specify a command to run. Thank you, JJ. Center that. JJ's like, dude, look at the damn screen.
Can't see it.
Any command you run, whether it's PowerShell or CMD, is going to be executed from that target machine, whereas a tool is executed from the console. Even the client, if you're connected to a central server, it runs from that client. Now, that tool might connect out to that
Correct.
computer. So, Chris, let's go ahead and show us. And we've got Heineken right down there.
Sweet. So this is very, very important. You can do this with a lot of different tools. Like I was just mentioning in the chat, someone was asking about adding Linux machines to your database. Yes, you can, and I actually do that because I like to use PuTTY to SSH into them, and so I actually even have a tool here. This is not the tool I prepared, but the tool to do that.
While you're
to
saying
just
that,
do
yes, you can add Linux or other objects, whether they're an AD or just on your network. You can't scan them, but you can. There's certain data, especially if they're an AD, certain attributes we can show. But it's for you to get an idea of what's out there. But we still don't scan them.
Correct.
Still require Windows for that.
So one of the go-to tools that I use is just kind of silly. I like to do inspirational Zap Brannigan quotes from Futurama. This one's going to run locally, as all tools do, but it's not a good example of actually getting it to show locally, whereas something like, let's poke around here. I have a lot that I can do on this one. Like, for example, one of the cool tools that I showed in the pre-show last week was being able to use WinDirStat to load up and scan a UNC path for a machine. And so here, knowing I have this tool under Files, I can select any machine here, and I have installed, as I recall, WinDirStat on Guinness here. So if I wanted to scan D10 Chase 2 Lab, come up to Tools, go over down here and run Files, Disks, WinDirStat C, and it'll actually load that and do that for me.
Now show us what would happen if WinDirStat doesn't exist.
Exactly. So over on Heineken,
Where it's probably not installed.
correct. We'll go over the tools, and you'll see the tools, including the Zap Brannigan inspirational quote, which is my favorite. It's worth covering again. So, tools. Come over here to that files directory, looking for my WinDirStat. It'll say nothing because I have it not showing the console. So, that's basically our way of saying, hey, it didn't work.
You need to have whatever script. If that script is specified, like in your on your C drive, it needs to be on the respective C drive of your console.
Correct. So like here I have close down completion. If I change that to leave shell open, I can actually show you the error here. But so
See what happens when I put him on the spot.
Yay, we love being on the spot. This is not the tool I was planning. So
Shane, if I use Dameware and you had it on the server and you call it from yours, that's fine. If I call it from my client machine, Dameware wasn't
Dameware
loaded,
is going to
same problem.
it's going to expect Dameware in the program files, so you're going to have that installed and have the appropriate licenses for Dameware. But if you have a tool, do you mind if I
please
pop in here? If you do have a tool that, in this case, we'll go to Customize. Let's see, where the remote registry. This is just a utility that is executed from a UNC. As long as that UNC is available from the client machine, it should work. So from I'll go back over here to an online computer. We'll do Colby. Go to Tools, Remote Registry. Remember, this is running this remote registry from a file server that is accessible. Then you're good. So that also might be something to keep in mind if whatever tool utility that you use can be stored on a file share. Use that, and it makes it so that you don't have to have that same tool installed on all your client machines.
Yes, just remember, key point here, it runs locally on your machine. So for those of you who have ever used created a tool to do GP update, even if you select a machine, it's still running on your console.
Correct.
You need to wrap that around some remote capabilities like invoke command in PowerShell or psexec of the System tool suite. Just remember, it runs locally from your context.
Well played.
So,
all right,
cool.
Get out of here. Lex, you just stay over there. I'll take care of it. Come on over here, buddy.
It's the Shane Show.
It's the Shane. I would rather have it be the Shane show. He's much more attractive than me.
That's not true. I frighten everyone. All right.
You actually do.
Thank you. Thanks.
And I just said
I'm going to go to, now I want to call out another little, we've added looks like it's not in there. We've added a CPU. We'll just go to Chase again because he's right there. We've added a new page in the computer window, and it's just called CPU, where we break down some of the specifics for processors.
Yep.
All right, this is Yeah, people have actually requested this quite a bit, so we thought, let's go ahead and throw
we
it out
listen to our customers and actually
Occasionally.
respond. Wow.
occasionally.
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
Occasionally. So yeah, check out that CPU page and let us know if you have any concerns.
Speaking of, have any questions?
Yeah.
Do we have any questions?
Do we?
Dear Shane Show, similar to changing to the client mode in deploy, do the collections in the new inventory just kind of freeze and still exist, or are they removed? Sincerely, Chris G.
Keep that question up for a second. Similar to changing the client mode in deploy. Yes. Okay. So I think we just showed that. If you are taking an existing local mode, you okay?
Like cough.
anybody know CPR? Oh wait, it's Lex. Nobody
Let him
come
die.
forward.
Let him die.
Hopefully no one knows
It really is
CPR.
going to be the Shane Show pretty soon.
But that question must have really pissed him off. Anyway, okay, I think we showed that yes, if you're going to take a computer that currently has its own database and make that a client, then yeah, you will lose those collections.
You won't see them. They'll still be on the database that's on that local machine, but since you're pointed at the server, you won't see them.
Now, for collections and reports, if you really want to keep them, you can export them. It's very simple to export any collection, or if you do an upper level collection, such as .NET Framework 4 here, you can just simply go to export, and that will save an XML file. Import that into the central server, and you'll have that collection. You'll have that report. The same with the scan profiles or tools. If you have, basically anything that's on that old client, or the old database that is now a client computer, you want to save that, you're going to need to do some export and some import. That doesn't work with the data itself, though, just like the collection definitions, the report definitions, tools, etc. All right. When you export and import tools, you're only exporting the rules, the XML file. You're not actually exporting the binary files,
filters and
the actual utility. So if you have a PSExec tool, when you export that, you're grabbing the command that you run and any variables, but you're not actually grabbing PSExec. That needs to be installed separately on the client machine.
Yep.
All right. When I say client, I mean the console, not necessarily your endpoints. That's a fair statement there. All right. Do we have any other questions, Kelford?
We do. Our final question of the day. Dear Shane and Lex, with a new central server, will computer scans done by one admin console show up across all admin consoles? In our current setup, without the central server, the shared database that we have does not show applications from scans across all of our consoles. Only the person who scanned initially sees the applications for the scanned computer. Thanks in advance, Michael C.
Hey, Michael. Yes, we will. That's the
whole reason.
Yeah, the whole reason. So that's the cool thing. Now you're all referencing the same database. It's still a SQLite database. We don't have any plans on changing that. I know there are those who probably want to go to Microsoft SQL or to Oracle. We contemplated that. That's a huge jump, as well as a huge expectation from our users, whereas SQLite so far has just done everything that we needed to do.
Just seems to work.
Yeah, it's fast. We love it. So when you scan from a client, any other clients that are connected that are valid console users or the
We'll
central
see
server,
those.
they'll see those scans and the respective data. But this once again, I need to mention this. There are some features now that are going to go away. They were kind of band-aids, and that's stuff like sharing. Sharing will be going away. This is where you could share collections. There's also scan caching. If you use that, not a lot of people use that, but if you're using scan caching, that's going away as well. All of these were kind of to take these environments that had multiple administrators and their different consoles to kind of help them
Try and get
share
everybody
data.
looking at the same thing.
Yeah, but now with the central server feature, once again, an optional feature. But if you want to use that, that's the reason for it.
Yep.
So scan caching going away, sharing going away. Do we have any? Did you say that was the last question, Kelly?
Yeah. Yep.
Do you have anything you want to add there, brother? Without going into an epileptic coughing fit.
The epileptic fit will happen in a minute. We were talking earlier about the malware. Patch your machines, guys.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
RTFM, read the manual, please.
Yeah,
When you
absolutely.
upgrade.
Please. And you know what's scary about this about this whole pet ya not pet ya is a lot of those computers, even if they had SMBv1 disabled or they had those patches, there was a problem where an application that a very popular I guess accounting software pushed out. Yeah, it just kind of updated itself with this bad stuff. Even if they had that disabled, they were still infected because it uses SMB as a transport method. But if you just take that ransomware utility and put it on your computer and run it, then
Once the
you're
fox is in the chicken coop, you know,
It had some
boom,
lateral
there you go.
methods that it could take advantage of.
Absolutely. That's what's scary. So, obviously, make sure you patch your systems. We offer those patches, those cumulative OS patches in deploy. We recommend that you use those or WSUS. Keep it going.
Yep.
If you have any questions in the future, by all means, contact our support. Call out Jason particularly. Give Brig a little break. Let's see if we can't piss off Jason.
There we go.
That is your
Jason,
homework
there we
assignment.
go.
All right, everybody. We'll talk to you later.
Thanks for joining our webcast today. Congratulations, Chris G. and Michael C., winners of PDQ Swag. Also, Corey H., winner of our vintage floppy coaster. Get us your info to webcast@pdq.com. Also, if you would like to be a guest via video during our pre-show, we would love to hear from you. There is a form you can fill out in our bonus content. Thanks again for joining us, and we'll see you back here next week.